I'm Joan Borysenko, and some of you might know me from work in the mind-body area. I've written 12 different books about the mind, the body, psychoneuroimmunology, and its connection to spirituality. Part of the great joy in what I've done over the years is have the opportunity to meet extraordinary people. And one of those people is Wayne Teasdale. So I first met Wayne in Trent, Italy at a weekend dialogue called Synthesis 2 with a number of religious leaders from around the world and His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. And my first introduction to Wayne was, wow, what an enormous brain and an understanding of the interspiritual traditions, the mystic heart that underlies all traditions. But the second thing I noticed about Wayne is, wow, what a joker. He was just so much fun. Wayne loved jokes, which were not all funny jokes, but what it was just a playfulness inside him. And it was so easy to see how playfulness and spirituality really are expressions of curiosity. They're expressions of spirit. They're expressions of spontaneity and presence. And you wonder, how did they ever get split off? Daniel Ladinsky is a wonderful poet. He is full of fun. And in one of his poems about Saint Teresa of Avila, she says something like, how did those priests ever start to teach all that gloom? And the poem goes on, beloved, tickle them and hurry up. So Wayne was a great tickler. At that particular conference with His Holiness, he and Tenzin Shogil, TC, or His Holiness's brother, were forever joking. And I remember making up skits at that conference. Here are all these holy people, and we're making up funny skits. And what's great about that is that it allows us to see each other at a much deeper level, beyond the ego, beyond the facade, beyond the stuff that we put on in our identity in the world. And humor just lets you very naturally move into your real self when everything else falls away. And that's the heart of the creative process, really. It emerges naturally from that deepest sense of who we are. When all the filters of unworthiness and, gee, I got to please this one and I've got to do that one and she's looking and he's looking, when all that goes and we're just ourselves, that I think is what self-realization is. It's just so simple. It's just being yourself. And that's where the best work flows from and the best work comes from. Think if you've ever been doing like a creative process with other people where some kind of synergy is really emerging that's greater than any one of you. There's a lot of play that accompanies that. There's a lot of joking, there's a lot of ribbing, there's a lot of little riffs. I know that one of the things I've been involved in lately, actually since meeting and becoming a friend of Wayne's, is the formation of an institute for interspiritual inquiry. And I founded this with my husband, Gordon de Veron, and we called it Claritas, which is Latin for clarity and illumination. But it also has that kind of bubbling quality to it, claritas. And we decided that our first program would be to train people as interspiritual mentors. You know, within the Catholic tradition, there's something called spiritual direction, where you sit with someone who they're not directing you to do anything other than to be yourself and to listen for the movement of spirit in your life. And there's an 1,800-year-old tradition of that spiritual direction within Catholicism. It's also called being an anamkara, or a soul friend, or a soul companion. And we thought, wouldn't it be cool if we could really extend this in an interspiritual way so that regardless of what your religious tradition or lack of one was, if you wanted to reach that mystic heart, there would be somebody who you could sit with, who would help you in the three traditional movements of spiritual direction, which are alignment with the source of our being, dropping that mask and feeling yourself one with that flow of life, with that non-dual awareness which is beyond self and which just feels like love, really, love and clarity. And then the second movement is discernment. At this conference today, honoring Wayne, as I'm talking to you and talking to Alan through the camera, the rest of the group are really sharing what their vision is to make the world a better place. And part of understanding your own vision and working with it is discernment. How much of it are shoulds, how much of it are other people's ideas, how much of it is really spirit moving through you in your life. And we're always trying to make that discernment. Where is spirit moving here? And how can I cooperate with it? There was a wonderful, wonderful Hindu by the name of Ramakrishna. Many of you know his work from the last century. And he said, the winds of grace are blowing all the time, but it's up to us to raise our sails. So discernment is really a raising of the sails so that that greater flow can pick us up and catch us, and we can participate in this incredible mandala of life with our best self. So the third movement of spiritual mentoring or spiritual direction after alignment with the source and discernment is really to unfold the heart of spirit in action. And now I think I'm going to cry because, you know, I think of Wayne's great innocence and his great beauty and the little seed he dropped, which so inspired Gordon and me. And that was, he said, we have to move toward creating a civilization with a heart. And that's the third movement, unfolding the heart of spirituality in action. So that's what spiritual direction is. That's what the Claritas Institute does.